Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Aisle. I'm your host, Nikki Wolf, and today we have an exciting episode in store for you. One topic that we haven't discussed yet, but I am very much eager to get into, and that is everything in regards to natural motherhood. And this is going to include pregnancy, postpartum, and even just raising our little ones in this world and doing things in a natural way as best as possible. And today we have an incredible guest for you. So Brenna is a homeschooling mom of 4 and a teacher at heart. She is passionate about researching best practices in all areas of her life. Thank you so much for joining us, Brenna. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. And I know, there was a lot of planning. You have 4 little ones. And so I think 4, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes. Yep. And so that's not an easy feat to get some time off. So
yes.
I really appreciate
it. No problem. It's like a vacation for me.
Ooh, nice. Are they out at the park or something?
They're like downstairs having dad time. So we're good.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Awesome. Well, okay. So for those listeners, we actually met way back in high school. It's weird to say way back, because now it's been some years.
It doesn't feel like that long ago, but it was so long ago now.
I know. But, and we've been following each other on social, and I just see all your, stories of everything that you're doing in life. And honestly, for those listeners, I've been reaching out to Brenna for support along this journey with pregnancy. And so I'm just so excited and eager for you all to hear her wisdom and just some of the research that she's done in regards to natural motherhood. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. First of all, you're so kind. That was such a nice intro. So I am, a mom of 4. I'm a homeschool. I homeschool my 2 oldest, so first grade and kinder right now. And it's been wild and fun and wonderful. And then I also lead a homeschool group. So we meet up for holiday parties, book clubs, field trips, hikes, little things. And it's like 120 families. And then
that is insane to me. And she is the leader of this, guys. Like, she has orchestrated this. And I know you get help along the way.
Yes,
and
so much help.
Plan stuff. But that is so fascinating. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're fine. I was homeschooled as a kid, and I felt very isolated. And so I was like, if I'm going to homeschool my kids, I want to make sure that they feel like they have plenty of social time and plenty of friends, and they're not missing out on any of like those quintessential elementary school moments. So that's been great. And I used to teach 4th grade. So I'm a teacher at heart. So once a week I teach a little class to like 13 kids here at my house, and it is wonderful. The kids love it. I love it. And it gets my creative teaching bug out. So that's fun.
I love that. I did not know you guys were the whole family homeschooled.
At different times throughout our schooling. So like I was first through 3rd and then again in 5th. And then my sister was like some of middle school. So it was all jumbled. And then, so from middle school on, I was in public school. So.
Oh, very cool. So you got a little mix of both.
Yes, a little mix of both. I have the best of both worlds.
Oh, I love that. And I mean, I've seen some of your videos and I'm like, dang, I want to be homeschooled in that group of like the activities that you guys do, the adventures that you do. It seems amazing.
Oh, it's so much fun. I'm really grateful. You can definitely see there's such a push for it now. Like back when I was homeschooled, we were, the oddballs. Like not everyone did that. And now it's gaining so much traction. People really want to take that ownership over their child's education and be involved in it and kind of slow down childhood and, be able to teach them about healthy living in their schooling and not just send them off. And so it's been great. Yeah.
You're so right. And like, I think about, I had a girlfriend in high school and she was homeschooled, her whole family was, and you're right. It was like something that was so foreign and rare. And I knew her from sports, but now it seems like it's a much more common thing. And I mean, I think there's some incredible benefits that can come from it. So very, very cool. Now, where did all this begin? So I know you have experience with homeschooling, but as far as like your passion in regards to natural motherhood, where did this stem from?
Okay, so with my first pregnancy, I was like not natural at all. And I used every single chemical and took, you know, all the painkillers and ended up having a C-section. And my postpartum was horrible.
Mm.
Just like so bad, postpartum depression and anxiety and our breastfeeding journey and all of it. And then I got pregnant with my second, and I was like, I just feel like I need to do something different. And I had heard a little bit, my sister-in-law, she sells essential oils, and heard a little bit from that, and just some other people in my life of like, there's like better options out there. And I started kind of just diving in. And like, yeah, like you said, I'm like a huge researcher. So when I get passionate about something, I'm like psycho. Like, I'm like constantly like up at night. Like, I need to find out all of the information and all of the facts.
I love that so much because I've reached out to you and I've even showed my mom. I'm like, and even my husband, because we're like on this path and we're trying to do things as natural as possible. And your responses, they're like, no, she just copied and pasted like that. I was like, no, 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 no. Like, this is like, she knows this off the top of her head. And I love that so much. It's
You're
like the
sweet.
hyper focus that I have with like ADD, but like that you dive into that because I don't have the patience to research all this. And so I trust your opinion. And it's so fascinating. But you, oh my gosh, the amount of information you know in regards to this
Oh my
is
gosh.
just so
You're
cool.
sweet. You're too sweet. Yeah, no, I just like, I go hard. And so it started with just like natural products. My son in the hospital, he was a newborn, and they gave me some lotion to put on him, and it had like red dye 40 in it. And I was like, at that point, hadn't even known anything, but I was just like, that doesn't feel right. And so I
Yeah.
had used it on him before I read the ingredients. And then it was just kind of this snowball effect of like, wait, if they're doing that, if they're giving me that, like what else is in his soap? What else is in our food? What else is in everything? Our
Yeah.
candles, right? Like, so I just went like down a whole road of like learning more. And it's funny, he can't have red dye anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah, it like really affects his brain. So that's like one thing that I figured. I didn't even figure that one out until 3 years later, where he was having tantrums, and I was like, this is not normal. Like, I know what like a normal tantrum is, and this is, and I reached
Yeah.
out to my friend, and she has a red dye allergy. And she said, I said, what happens to you when you have red dye? She goes, oh, I have a horrible headache. Like, she's like, it's like a worse than you've ever gotten sort of headache. And I was like, that makes so much sense, because he was banging his head on the tile floor.
Oh,
And I was like,
buddy.
oh my gosh, like light bulb
Wow.
moment. And so again, just like went down another rabbit trail. And then my other son, so my third, um, had all sorts of digestive issues, and we had to do allergy testing and celiac testing and all the things. Ends up that he can't have gluten or pineapple. And so that was like another thing. So a lot of like
Yeah.
what I know is just from like experience of trial and error, and then research, and also like having things where I'm like trying my best, and then, oh, something's still going wrong. Okay, revert,
Yeah.
like wipe away all your memories. Let's try
Yeah.
again, right? And
But I
so,
love your eagerness to like take action and ownership and all right, let's do something about it. And
yeah.
maybe that's that motherly instinct, but I still don't think, every mother would dive deep in and like, all right, let's get to the root of this. And I'm curious too, coming back to red dye, like were there any main foods or snacks that you immediately had to eliminate? Like, I mean, I think like red jello, but was there random stuff that had it in there?
Yeah, so we ended up figuring out that it's like all red dyes, or all food dyes, not just red.
Okay.
Um, some surprising ones were like pickles have yellow dye in them, a lot of them.
Oh, because
Um,
we need that extra coloring in our
right.
pickles.
Why would you add that?
Yeah.
Marshmallows have blue dye in them, certain brands.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so those were like two tricky ones. And then like during the holidays, so I figured it out, and it was December. And so he obviously was having like more treats than normal. And all of the sprinkles and everything, right?
Oh,
And he
yeah.
also took a bath in a bath bomb that I was like, oh, like I
Oh.
normally even go for like more natural ones, but we were like, whatever, it's Christmas, let's have
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, yeah.
And it was a red bath bomb, so it soaked into his whole
Oh,
skin, poor buddy.
buddy.
Yeah,
Oh my
so
gosh.
yeah, it's been a journey for sure.
Yeah,
And
no
it's taught me a
kidding.
lot about bioindividuality, right? So
Okay.
the kids know that he can't have that, but that doesn't necessarily we and that we should all avoid it. But what it does to him is going to be different than it what does to my daughter.
Yeah.
Same with gluten with my son, that what it does to him and myself, I'm gluten intolerant as well, is different than what it'll do for my other son or their dad,
Yeah.
right? Like, so all of these different things of teaching them that we have to listen to our bodies. And that's the most
Mm-hmm.
important thing. Our bodies are
Mm-hmm.
always going to give us signals, beep, 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 like something's off. And so the more we can become like in tune of like, oh, my tummy hurts a little bit or my head hurts a little bit, like, let's think about what we ate. And so that we're not like fearful of food and we're
Mm-hmm.
not too
Mm-hmm.
restrictive, but we're really just going for like what makes us feel good and
Yeah.
avoiding what makes us feel bad.
I love that so much. That's awesome. And the ages of your kids, what's like the difference between them all?
So I have Nora, she's 7. Oliver is
Okay.
5. Everett is 3. And Eloise is 10 months today.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. How exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'm guessing, you've gone through this
Yeah.
transition through pregnancies and starting to learn more and
Mm-hmm.
become more aware. And forgive me for not knowing this, but I'm guessing when you have your first C-section, all the other births have to be C-section. Is that correct?
So, no, I had a C-section with her because she was breech and she
Okay.
I had low amniotic fluid, so she wouldn't turn. So
Okay.
she flipped too late, basically. And then I could have tried for a VBAC, vaginal birth after a C-section,
Correct.
after her. But we had just moved from Tennessee back to California, and my husband was starting a new job, and I had the opportunity to plan my birth for Labor Day, where we would have a 3-day weekend, or have it that my husband could potentially not be there for the birth. And
Oh
so I
yeah, smart.
literally just chose it out of like logistics. And
Yeah.
then looking back, I'm like, I should have tried for the natural, because then after like 2, it's riskier. And
Okay.
then, so yeah, it ended up just being all repeat C-sections. But
Okay, no,
it's
that's
okay.
interesting that you
Yeah.
can. Well, you said after 2, but how did you notice? So again, each pregnancy you're becoming more aware. What about the pregnancy itself as you started to dive down into this more natural approach? Because it sounded like the first one was horrible and like just,
Yes.
so many different symptoms and even post. How have you noticed that transition through each pregnancy as you've gained more clarity on doing things naturally?
Yeah, great question. So my second pregnancy was like smooth sailing, so good. I don't know if that was just like it was a boy pregnancy versus a girl pregnancy or what, but I was like not necessarily doing a lot more healthy choices with the second, but I was like focusing on at least eating better.
Okay.
And then the third and fourth, I got more in tune to like what was going to help with morning sickness and like muscle aches, like I said to you the other day, like that I would take Epsom salt baths instead of or taking ibuprofen, or no, what is it? Acetaminophen is what you can take in pregnancy.
Honestly, I've heard so many conflicting. That's where my husband and I are right now. I'm like, I'm actually just not going to take anything
Yeah.
right now because I'm hearing so much confliction of like,
Mm-hmm.
you can take this, you can't take this. So I'm like, all right, Epsom salt baths, magnesium,
Totally.
and just, I was like, you know what, maybe this is prepping me for labor.
Yes, I know.
So
Well, the Epsom salt baths too, I'm like, oh, it was always like a good excuse to just like kind of relax
oh yeah,
anyways, which is good for
oh
your
yeah,
pregnant body. And so it works. Yeah, so
exactly,
each one I
exactly.
kind of got less and less. With this last pregnancy, it was another girl, and I did have more morning sickness. And so I found, have you tried the raw carrot salads?
Raw carrot salads.
Uh-huh. So you shred like a raw carrot. You peel it first, like peel the outer part off, and then
Okay.
you shred it, and you mix apple cider vinegar, either coconut oil or like you can use avocado or MCT,
Okay.
and then a little pinch of sea salt on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds so weird, but it's like this thing that's like really popular. So I was like, I'm gonna try it. It's supposed to like balance you, I guess. And it would cure my morning sickness every time I ate it.
Holy
It
smokes.
was
Wow. Yeah, I've never heard of
crazy.
that. I eat that very often. I'm actually in a clinical research with fermented foods, and so apple cider vinegar is
Oh,
something
okay,
that like
yeah.
I consume very regularly. And today I actually made like a cucumber, tomato, feta, apple cider vinegar, avocado oil,
Oh,
salt.
yum,
I think there
yum.
was Kalamata olives and red onion.
Ooh,
The
so
best.
good.
But I was looking for, I know I should do it myself, but I was looking for shredded carrots to add to it. But that's interesting. I wonder
Yeah,
if it's maybe the beta carotene and the apple cider vinegar.
yeah.
And the salt is, I mean, I'm a pusher for like real good quality
Yeah, like
salt.
the Celtic sea salt. I would just pinch
Yes.
into everything. Like
Yeah.
I would pinch it into my little coffee or like
Oh, totally.
the orange juice with
Yep.
coconut oil or coconut water too. That was very helpful
Yep.
during this last
Oh,
pregnancy.
very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're starting to chat about, morning sickness. What are some, some key nutrients or snacks or different things, recommendations that you would, suggest when you're going through that with
Yeah, so
morning
I
sickness?
feel like it can be so hard. I like with my first, it's like all I wanted was bread. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And then this time around, I was like, okay, I need to like make sure that I'm getting like my folate in. I'm making sure that I'm getting my protein, my choline. Like, so I had a lot of eggs. I had a lot of like bean and cheese burritos, like healthy though. So I would just do like
Yeah. Yeah.
black beans with like a good cheese and then those like siete tortillas.
Yes.
And that was just like hearty and like didn't make me feel sick. A lot of fruit, a lot of the raw carrot salads, like yogurts, and just trying to get whenever I can eat something. And I found with morning sickness too that the more I ate little bits throughout the day,
Yep. Yep.
was better than a big meal or like avoiding eating. And so just having like good snacks on hand, a lot of protein is helpful
Yeah.
too. And so for the first like trimester, I don't think I could do as much meat. So it was more like relying on like beans, hummus type
Yep.
things. And then later, like the beef sticks, like the grass-fed beef sticks,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
those were like my lifeblood. I like had to have them all the
Oh,
time.
totally. You got to get it in any way you can at that point.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, just focusing on good nutritious foods, smoothies with spinach in it, right? Like and then prenatals too, which
Okay.
I didn't know with my daughter. I was having like folic acid in my
Yes, let's
yeah.
chat about that
Yeah.
because it's so interesting and we're not here. I mean, Life Seasons is an integrative company, so we blend both Western and Eastern, and I use Western medicine, so we're not here to like bag on that at all.
Yeah.
But it is good to be aware of other methods and like really what's going on with our bodies, to question things, to research things, and I think there's benefits behind medication, 911, emergency, you know, um, if you need surgeries and stuff, but to really make our priority that Eastern approach. So diet, lifestyle,
Yes.
supplementation, natural foods. And so it is frustrating. And I don't know if have you heard of MTHFR mutation or anything like that?
Yes. So,
Okay.
we have not been tested for it officially, but I can pretty much say without a doubt that I carry it, and so does my husband.
Yes.
Like
So for those of you,
our families have like everything that would,
yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it totally makes
Yeah.
sense. And for those of you listening, I know that like MTHFR, what? So it's referring to the methylation. So you get a set of genes from your mom and your dad. And when you take like, let's say for instance, B vitamins, so like cyanocobalamin, that's your traditional B12, your body will methylate it or convert it into methyl cyanocobalamin. And so that's how our bodies absorb it, utilize it. The problem is, and I don't know if you know this, 50% of the population has one or more of those genes
Mm-hmm.
mutated, meaning not only are you not absorbing that cyanocobalamin, it's actually becoming toxic in the system
Mm-hmm.
and can lead to depression, anxiety, liver toxicity. I actually have the double mutation.
Okay.
And so you can do blood work. I also just advise eating real food for your B vitamins, like the yolk
Yes.
in eggs. And I think an opportunity for so many businesses, children's vitamins, they're all non-methylated. Like start methylated, like that, you know what I mean? Like everything is just regular cyanocobalamin, and so the folic acid, like the folate is going to be that more absorbable form. But yeah, I would love to hear, if you have more insight on folate versus folic acid and like the fact that there's still so many doctors recommending folic acid versus folate. So would love to hear just any insight you have on that.
Yeah. So I found that out with my second pregnancy and started taking it. I think it was like halfway through though. And I read the Dirty Genes by Dr. Ben Lynch, and he goes all into all of the different the S&Ps or whatever, right, that you can have.
Wait, what was that called? Dirty Genes?
Dirty Genes by Dr. Ben Lynch.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, he's fantastic. So I took his prenatals with this last one. I took with Everett, and it's so important where you get your supplements. I took one that said it had methylated vitamins, but it was like a more generic brand. And he has like a stork bite. And then he also had the tongue and lip tie. And then he also has something that would be, like, want to embarrass him in later life, but he has something that affects his like diaper, his diaper area.
Yes.
Oh,
yep. So, perfect.
Yes. So it's perfect, all midline defects, right? And so if you cannot methylate your vitamins properly, if you can't methylate your B vitamins, then it can cause midline defects. And so he has
I never knew that.
2, 3, 4.
Wow. Yeah. Never knew that.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I learned too that, like, so say for your first pregnancy, you can have a store of B vitamins. And then with each subsequent pregnancy, because each pregnancy like requires so much, your stores can actually lower. So if you're not like supplementing enough, or if you're still eating breads and pastas with folic acid that is added into it, then you can be depleting your stores. And then so each subsequent pregnancy would be the same.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That you'd think, okay, if you have the methylation issue, okay, it couldn't hurt to take just like not the methylated, but like, no, it actually does cause damage.
Yes.
And so I say for people who don't even know, just just assume you have it and take methylated B vitamins and eat real foods without added folic acid or non-methylated Bs.
Right. And it's like in a lot, right? It's in cereals, it's in any like enriched dough, anything like that, enriched flour. And so that was like wide, like eye-opening to us as well. And I mean, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a professional with any of this, but that's like what we found. So we ate like all organic, and then some organic brands will even add it back in. So you have to be careful. And then, took Dr. Ben Lynch's, his prenatal vitamins, which are great too, because they have the methylated form. And he even has one, there's some people who have a different S&P. It's like where they can't even have folate. No, they have to have folinic acid. So it's like non-methylazed, but it's folate. It's very tricky. It's very interesting. In the book, there's so much more. So if someone takes methylated vitamins and has a bad reaction, it could be that they have that. And so
you've mentioned S&P for our listeners. Can you explain what that is?
It's a SNP, I guess they say, and it's basically the different genes, like how they affect your DNA, basically. So
Gotcha.
MTHFR would be one, and then there's all these different numbers and letters that go
Yeah.
along with all of the other ones.
Okay.
Again, I am not a nurse or doctor, but that's
You
what
know a
I've
lot more than a
gathered.
lot of individuals, though. Okay, so, and it's funny, I actually just did a video on this talking about, so I know you've mentioned you have a few ideas for healthy alternatives to the traditional glucose
Yeah.
drink, so Glucola, and I actually pursued that route. I ended up passing without having to take the
Oh,
drink,
great.
and yeah, there's so many things about it. And, I've heard that, it's not as reliable. And then, a lot of times women will they'll fail the first test and then they'll have to do the second one with 100 grams and 100, I can't remember 100 grams or 100 milligrams.
It's
I
100
know that's
grams of sugar. It's crazy. I had to do it. I know.
Oh, you had to do the 100?
I did with this last one. So I've always done glucola, and
Okay.
I just like was like, oh, gross. Like I won't look forward to that day, right? And
Yeah.
then this time, I think probably just because I'm like older, I don't know. They also used to tell me to fast before the test,
Yeah.
and this time they didn't, and so I said, okay, I guess I'm fine, and I didn't fast, and I think that might have skewed my results.
So, true. I've heard different things. So recently, because I kind of recently passed the stage of when you have to do it, they said you don't have to fast, but you don't want anything like carb heavy or really focus on carbs. Like you can have
Yes.
eggs and like meat or like protein and fats, but stay away from the carbs because I can't even fathom one. I have blood sugar issues, and again, we're going to be chatting about healthy alternatives to glucola, but doesn't mean that that's going to be the route for you. If you're listening, always talk to your healthcare provider no matter what, because like you said, everybody's bio individual, and so we never know what's going on. But for me, I know my body pretty well. I was working hand in hand with my doctor. I ended up using like two, almost three different methods of alternatives to glucola. But I think about 50 grams of sugar on an empty stomach, how like I feel like I'd be puking afterwards.
Oh, I
And
would
just
feel
like,
sick every time. Oh, yeah.
oh. So
So
did you
gross.
do it 4 times?
I did it 3. The
Okay.
fourth one, I found a friend of mine who's a nurse and more natural minded. She gave me this recommendation. It's called the Fresh Test.
Yes.
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 And so you can buy it through LabCorp's website, which is great. So it's like approved. Quest will not approve it. I tried.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you have to get your blood work and you want to do it naturally, try to go to LabCorp if you can. You can
Okay.
order it. You order it online by yourself, right? And then you just bring it in. And they were so nice about it. You mix it with water. It's like a
Amazing.
powder, and it tastes like gross country time lemonade, but it's healthy. Like
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
I mean, healthier
I
than
mean, it's still
Glucola.
50
It's still
grams of
50 grams of
sugar.
sugar.
Yeah, but it's not all the extra additives and everything
Yes.
like that. It's a much more approachable. So there are things out there, and I just posted a video on what I did. And again, not everybody might be able to do this, but I tracked my blood sugar levels
Yeah.
through the finger pricking. And so my doctor said, and generally I'm very like severe hypoglycemic. So I am always very low.
Okay.
And again, I've been on this journey for a while. So I know a lot what's going on, but finger pricked, I think 4 times a day she wanted about a week. I also got my A1C checked. So that is going to show you the average of your blood sugar over a 3-month span. So it gives a good idea.
Great.
But then also doing the finger pricking, after a meal, before a meal, and certain times gave her another idea and like implication of where I'm at. And then I mentioned you could do the continuous glucose monitor. So CGMs, I don't know if you know much about it, but diabetics will have that either on their arms or their bellies, and then they have their pump. So for a while when my levels would go like coma level, so I would drop into the 40s.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so like hypo is 70 or below, I would go into the 40s. So I ended up, and this was before CGMs were like very readily available. I had to like fight to get it. Usually you could only do it if you're diabetic. And so you put it on your arm or wherever, and it's this teeny tiny needle that stays in you for a week, and it continuously, hence the name continuous,
great.
checks your levels. And so I know that they're available now. I mean, it's a big thing for people who, are into like biohacking and whatnot, just
Yeah.
to understand how foods affect your blood sugar. And
Yeah.
so, there's so many different methods. And again, it doesn't, and I even told the doctor, I said, if my numbers at the end of all these different things are concerning for you, I will go in for the drink. I'm, you know what I mean? Obviously helping
Yeah.
the baby and myself, but I wanted to see if there was something I could do beforehand. And she was like, you're good to go. So there's a lot we
Fantastic.
can do, and just ask questions and see, you know what I mean? And I think it also depends on who you work with for your OB. Mine is
So
a
important.
hybrid. So at our birth, there's going to be a midwife and an OB. It's like a hybrid birth center and hospital.
Okay.
So,
Great. That's amazing. No,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
fantastic. Yeah. And I mean, like, props to you too for being able to advocate for yourself for your first pregnancy, because that's so important. I feel like that's one of those things that, like, I was so shy in the beginning of, like, oh, okay, whatever they say, whatever I'm not gonna I'm not gonna push back. And now I'm like,
yeah, but yours was 7 years ago, right? 7 years ago.
right. And so the amount of information out there was so much harder to find. Like, it's crazy to think how much has changed in 7 years. And
I think after this whole pandemic, people are questioning a lot.
Yes.
And I think, my mom's very passionate about it. I'm very passionate about it. And so I live in, I feel like, a different generation where it's not as the norm. Like for you, I can't even imagine, what you had to go through. And I mean, even think our parents of like, if you,
totally,
question something, it's just so different.
It's so different. And then you always get the people that like push back and you're not sure if you're comfortable. Like, so I had to take the second glucose test. And for that one, I didn't order the thing online. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to do those naked drinks. If you do 2 of them.
Oh, okay.
It's 100 grams of sugar. And I went in and one of the people was like, no, that's not going to work. And I was like, no, here's the thing. The point is for me to drink 100 grams of sugar. Look at the back.
Yeah.
This is
so they let
grams,
you get
and they let me.
So my doctors, they said that we couldn't even do that, because I was like, it'd be different if I can like have cheesecake and like ice cream, instead of But she said no. If you're gonna do it, you have to do this specific. So here's the thing: at the end of the day, if you are passionate about it or interested in seeing if there's any alternatives, just ask. Just
totally. And each provider is going to be comfortable with different things, and so it's like, I think sometimes, even if it's not your ideal or their ideal, maybe we can meet in the middle somewhere. Maybe we can find something where I'm comfortable and you're comfortable. Like, chances are you're going to be able to find something. And if you can't find something you're comfortable with, go find a different provider.
Love it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, okay, so pregnancy's going on. We're, at the blood sugar testing levels. Now we're kind of walking into birth and postpartum. What kind of recommendations do you have preparing for birth?
Okay, yeah, that's a great one. Preparing for birth, so for me, I'm a C-section. I've never even felt a contraction, so I'm like an anomaly. But I think either way, you have to prepare yourself mentally. Going in for surgery or going in for labor, they're both mentally and physically like taxing, stressful, right? And so I think finding yourself in like a place of peace and, doing what you can to get control over your mental state, but then also nutrient wise. So when you give birth, when you have a C-section, you're going to be depleted of a lot of nutrients very fast, breastfeeding, all of the things. And so the last month, I would just go extra hard with all of my nutrients, right? So I'm eating extra healthy. I'm eating so much protein. I just want my body to feel strong, my immune system to feel strong. And then with a C-section, right, you're on a lot of medications after, and you can't detox when you're breastfeeding. So making sure that at post C-section that I was building up my nutrients again. So I would make those little gummies, the little gelatin with the juices in them, and that was a great snack. And then I would do
wait, let's not pass over that one. So do you have, because I used to make them and I haven't done it in forever. But do you know like a quick little recipe or like concoction off the top of your head for
Ooh,
listeners?
my favorite one. Okay. I have two favorites. Okay, you can do, it's like a cup of water, and you want to make sure it's filtered water. And then you do
Okay.
like a quarter cup of gelatin. I honestly eyeball it.
Okay.
And you just let that like simmer on your stove for like just until it's dissolved. And then I would either add like organic mango juice if I was
Ooh.
having it during the day, or if you need a snack at night, you can do tart cherry juice. And it like has, what does it have in it? I don't know.
Well, there's so many benefits. It's phenomenal for inflammation. I feel
Okay.
like you could still do it early daytime as well, but it is good for inflammation. I
It
know
has
like
something
individuals
in
with
it that
gout.
allows you to sleep better, I think, too.
I
I
don't think it's
forget what.
melatonin. But that is interesting.
Yeah. And then you just put
And
it
the
in like a pan.
gelatin to make sure you are using like a good
Grass
grass-fed
fed.
gelatin.
Yes. So I
So
got
just
mine
go to
from
your vitamin
hmm
department and
Perfect
get one from
Supplements
there.
has a really great one.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the one I would use. And then you just cut it up in squares, and it's like so easy to just grab on the go. The kids loved it. Um, And so, yeah, that was just like another one, and like good smoothies. And I would make, yeah, so postpartum, making sure you're nourished is so important, because you want to be like hydrated. You want like get a big water bottle that you have by your side all the time, because you might not be moving a lot.
Yep.
And then also like food that people can just hand to you, or you can grab real quick with one hand while you're holding the baby,
Yep.
and feed yourself well. So I would make like big pans of like baked oatmeal, and I would put like
Oh.
collagen in it because that's helpful for scarring, right? And then I would just like put some yogurt on top so that I was getting that, and some fruit, or like a
Yeah.
big quiche, right? So you're getting a ton of eggs like right away, just stuff that you can grab a spoonful of
Amazing.
instead of having to put, like, even to put together a sandwich is hard,
Yeah. I,
right?
I I am very, very blessed that I'm going to be surrounded by a community,
Oh,
and
good.
we just bought I think it's called The First 40 Days. I don't know if you ever
Yes,
read it.
yes.
And my sister's like, I'm stealing this. I was like, I know she's taking it. She's going to read it, and she's like a cook. She was a student of the year with her culinary school.
Oh my
So she knows
gosh.
how to make. Yeah,
Yeah.
super cool. So she's going to like probably prep all those broths
Oh,
and soups,
yes.
and my mom will come over a week before, and we're going to like batch out meals.
Yes,
Cause
love it.
I mean, this is my first, so I have no idea what to
Yeah.
expect, but I'm like, I do have one, like, okay, so yes, sandwiches are probably difficult. However, that is going to be my dream food after I give birth. I'm going to have baby in one hand
And a
and
big
a big fat
sandwich.
hoagie
Yes.
in the other one, because I am
Absolutely.
missing one of those.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
And if you have people
um,
taking care of you, you're going to do great. Have you tried
so
bone
awesome.
broth hot chocolate?
No, and I'm
It
very
sounds
open
gross.
to a lot of things. So I'm writing all these down because I'm going to add these into the show notes. Okay, so, and I'm open to a lot, but that does sound very peculiar. Tell me
So
more.
on the stove, you just heat up a little bone broth, put in some raw milk, and then a little like unsweetened cocoa, natural
Okay.
organic, right? And you can add in like a little, I add in a little like just organic cane sugar. You could do
Okay.
maple syrup, but it's not going to cover the taste as much. And then I do
Okay.
like a pinch of cinnamon, a pinch of Celtic sea salt, and a pinch of vanilla. And it is so good. You would never
Ooh.
know that there's bone broth in it, because I'm like, I can't sip bone broth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But in hot cocoa, it's so good. The kids love it. It's like,
Okay,
it's a
I think I'm
good,
gonna have
warm,
to.
nourishing drink that you're like getting
Yeah.
your sweet tooth fix too.
Okay, I'm gonna have to collect some of these, the gummy recipe and this bone
Yes.
broth hot chocolate from you. We're adding it in there. Listeners, we're all gonna try this together. And the nice thing with the bone broth, with the
Yes.
gummies, you're getting that boost of protein. I mean,
Yes.
how healing bone broth is. I mean, I'll want to bathe in that at that point.
Oh, totally. And if
Just
you have
how
to be
beneficial.
on antibiotics for any reason, I had to be, that's super common. A lot of people have a group B strep. And some people can get away with not having to be on antibiotics, right? Like there's different protocols. My doctor personally wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
And so I had to be on antibiotics. And so taking care of your gut health too afterwards is so
Yeah.
important. I would get a mood probiotic because your mind goes like very, very crazy.
Question, and this might be personal, and I'll just start the conversation. I am doing placenta encapsulation, and there's so much controversy on that, but I'm curious if that was something you did. Maybe you didn't do in the first ones, and you did, and you noticed a difference.
I never did. My sister-in-law has also had 4 C-sections. She did on her 4th, and she said she was like mind blown. It was amazing. So I just I couldn't get past the mental thought of it. But I think like more power to anyone who can. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those of you listening, just go ahead and Google it. I've told my husband, I was like, I'm going to sneak that into some year. No, I'm kidding. That would be so bad. But, yeah, I mean, there's just so much available now that we can do to help with mind and mood. And like you said, the gut to brain connection is huge. 70% of your serotonin is created in your gut. And so that connection is so important. Okay. So I know we've chatted a little bit about birth, a little bit of postpartum. Since you do have experience with C-section, is there anything else that, as far as gentle C-sections that you have experience with, or recommendations as far as maybe natural support or anything along those lines?
Yeah, definitely. So I think in California, a gentle C-section is like more common, but in other states, not at all.
And so what's the difference between gentle and traditional?
Yeah, so for my first one, I was in Tennessee. And it was planned. So there was no emergency about it. Baby was fine. I was fine. It was simply because she was breech. When they took her out, they weighed her, cleaned her up, wrapped her up, did tests on her, all before I ever saw her. So I missed like 45 minutes of my golden hour.
Oh, and because did you know at that point?
No.
Did you know like what the golden hour was and how important that time was?
I had heard things of it, but I was like, oh, these are the doctors. They know what they're doing. Like, it's going to be fine. And because they took her away, so I'm sitting on the operating table for, I think, 30 minutes. Like, they had almost completely sewn me up by the time I ever got to see my baby. And I went into a full panic attack. They had to give me panic or anxiety meds on the table because it literally felt like my heart was breaking. Like, where's my baby?
Brenna.
And she was fine. And that was the thing, right? Because to me, I'm like, is something wrong? If something's wrong, I understand that, like, you need to take my baby, make sure she's safe. There was nothing wrong with her. They weren't doing anything. No interventions were being had. They were seriously taking time to weigh her, do her, like, other little tests, like, right then.
So that's traditional.
That's traditional. It's going to take time. Okay. Like, my husband held her before I did. They finish sewing you up before you get to see her. I think they even wheeled her, like, I got to see her face. We wheeled to the recovery room together and then didn't hold her until I was in the recovery room. So that's, more traditional. My sister and sister-in-law both have had also C-sections, and their first experiences were also the same. Then I heard about gentle C-sections, and that's what I've had with the last 3. So for a gentle C-section, like, first you can have like music playing in the background. You can ask for them to like speak in like softer voices. Like, you can kind of create like a more peaceful environment. You can also ask for a clear drape. So the traditional drape is like a blanket, and so you can't see anything that's happening. You can ask for a clear drape so that once they've taken the baby out, or like they're about to take the baby out, the nurses drop the regular drape and it's a clear drape so you can see your baby being lifted up, see their first little face, and then they'll put them on your chest. I still have the drape on me, but like I have like sweet pictures of us like kissing through the drape, and like that was something that was like so healing for me to not have experienced that with the first. And then they do delayed cord clamping, and they just weigh her or the baby, and then they put her in a blanket and put her on me. Right. So there's no wiping down. There's no tests being done, nothing. It's just like those 2 steps. And then I'm like breastfeeding on the table while they're
Yeah.
sewing me up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah,
Awesome.
you can ask your OB for a gentle C-section. If they don't know what that is, talk to them about these things that you'd like. And like, if I can give any piece of advice for any C-section mom, it's that. Like, fight for it.
Yeah.
You deserve it.
Yeah.
You deserve to see your baby, and you deserve to have them on you if they're healthy and can.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And so I'm guessing, recovery for that, whether gentle or traditional, is still kind of on the lines of what you would normally do for pregnancy is like, I mean, the bone broth, the collagen peptides, making sure you're still getting all these nutrients, probiotics, because you're on the antibiotics. So kind of somewhat similar protocol that you would recommend.
Yeah, definitely. Still taking your prenatals, right? Nourishing foods. I take ashwagandha, that's for your brain too. Definitely just like making sure, you're restoring your minerals as much as possible, eating tons of protein, drinking water, moving slowly throughout your day. So like walking around, but not pushing yourself. That's very helpful.
Fantastic.
And then just breastfeeding and skin to skin, like as much as possible. Yeah.
Now, okay, so we focus a lot on the mom, which I think there should be a lot of attention to that, because I think after delivery, it's like all baby, no mom, and that's why I like this book, The First 40 Days. And we've talked a little bit, and it can be controversial, so we're going to just stay on our lane in regards to, there's different vaccines, there's different shots that are recommended for baby, and again, you talk to your doctor, you do what you feel comfortable with, but for those moms that are pursuing a more natural, holistic route. One thing that was interesting, and kind of as my husband and I are diving down of like, what do we need to give the baby and what can we do naturally? K2, because generally K2, they give a shot, but there's other ways that you can deliver the K2 supplement in a more natural form. Would love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so for my last 2, I chose the drops instead. It's from a brand. It's called like Bioemulsion K2 drops. I get them through a midwife. And there's like a protocol that you follow. And I think it's like, do not quote me on this, but it's like a certain amount of drops at birth, a certain amount of drops at 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. There's different ones in Europe. That's like standard. That's what they do. And so in lots of different European countries, they have different protocols. And so I read through like a whole study, and they've done like different studies on, okay, this one prevents it X amount, and then this one prevents it X amount. So I just went with one that I felt was most like safe. And that's what I've done with the last 2. Had no problems. I would say, I'm like not big into supplementing vitamin D. I prefer to just go out in the sun and have safe sun. But if you're supplementing with vitamin K, I personally think that it's important to supplement with the vitamin D as well to prevent jaundice. Because if you do just the K, even if you're doing a shot, right, they need the D in order to absorb both, balance it in their bodies, and prevent that jaundice. Because like, I forgot one day to do the D with the K with my daughter. I instantly saw her like skin yellowing. I gave her the D. Good.
Wow.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And so I know, and again, we're not going to dive off too much, but so K2, D or D3, are there any other things that you've done naturally kind of in replacement from some other traditional methods that you can think of?
As far as what?
Like supplementation?
Oh, for the kids?
I don't really know.
Yeah. So for the baby, so I do a probiotic for the babies just because I've been on an antibiotic because of the C-section. So to have a C-section, you have to be on antibiotics. And so I'm like, I'm sharing bad gut health then. And so I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
we got to repair us both.
Absolutely.
So I'll take a probiotic and I give them one as well. And I have done different brands. I've done the Mama Earth one. Right now I'm doing a Metagenics one.
Yep.
So yeah, there's different
company.
ones out there. And then that's all I give to the newborns. And then once they get older, we've got,
we'll have
better
to
vitamins.
send you. So Life Seasons works with a probiotic company. So it's called Inner Eco. It's in the fridges at health food stores, and it's a liquid one, and it's fermented coconut water. That is all it is.
Oh, whoa.
And there's an original one you can give it to pets, babies, kids, pour it in your dogs. Like, it helps with allergies. It's incredible. It tastes delicious. And it's literally just fermented coconut water. A single serving is 100 CFUs. And then there's 2 other flavors. There's a berry and a mango pineapple. And I love those. Less than a gram of sugar per serving. I'll have to either like.
What's the brand?
Inner Eco.
Inner
Eco. INNER and then space ECO. And the bottles, a lot of times sometimes stores will sell it like with the kombucha. It's not a single serving. It's a full month supply.
Okay.
And it's less than $1 per serving, and it's delicious. And so I'd recommend for baby. I mean, again, on
that's fantastic.
Study, I'm taking it every day. And so there's the original one, 0 grams of sugar, literally just fermented coconut water. And what's fascinating about it is most coconut water companies actually have to pasteurize it outside of the country and then ship it in. What we do is we send in the Thai coconuts into Colorado. We crack them, do the fermentation, bottle them within 2 hours, so it doesn't have to be pasteurized. So you're getting like the pure raw. It's incredible. Okay,
this is amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm like gonna go buy this right now.
And you can make. Oh, that'd be a fun little activity. Well, maybe that would be too techy and blades, but you can make your own coconut yogurt. So you can buy the whole coconuts, crack them, you scoop out the meat, add a little bit of the water, blend it up, and then put in a serving of the Inner Eco and cap it, and then you'll start having your own fermented coconut yogurt.
Oh, that would be a fun science project. We're going to be all about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess you could. It's just like mom will do the blending and stuff like that, but the kids can dump it in. And
totally.
And I don't have experience quite yet with kids, but like when they get their hands in, they're washing the kale and the spinach, they're way more likely to eat it.
Like 1,000%, yes.
Yeah.
Like, it's really a thing. It's important. Yeah. It's important for them to feel a part of their food. They do eat it more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll figure out how to get some to you and it's at your local Sprouts.
Okay, great.
There are Whole Foods, but I know you live closer to a Sprouts than.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh, fantastic. I love that. Yeah, I'm all about that. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I love the direction of this whole conversation. I feel like I could talk forever. What I would love to know and have our listeners know is what have been some of the most helpful resources for you that have helped you along this journey?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, great question. I would say that Dr. Ben Lynch book is really fantastic. Okay. There's another book that I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
You could say it, and again, this is open for everybody, and I know I appreciate it. Is it like one of the vaccine ones?
The Vaccine Friendly Plan.
Yes.
Very.
So my husband has actually been reading that a lot.
Okay, great.
And we've learned a lot. And again, you do what you feel best as a mother, as a parent, as anything. You talk to your doctor. We are just providing alternative methods and just other information out there, but I do appreciate that.
And that book is definitely like, it's not anti-vax. It is informed choice. It is just going into what is this disease that I'm trying to prevent? Okay, what are the ingredients in this? And so that's where I can feel comfortable recommending that book, I feel, because it's not controversial. Yeah.
Completely agree. Yeah. And I will say I haven't been reading it. My husband has, because I'm just like not in the mental state to like do that. I'm like, okay, I'm physically taking this on. You can mentally take it on.
I love it. Divide and conquer.
What he has learned, and it's so fascinating because what he recommends as far as pain relief in the book is different than like all the OBs and the midwives, what they're recommending. So I'm like,
yes,
it's just interesting, and it opens your eyes and it makes you start questioning a little bit more and not just taking information of like, okay, that's what they say, so let me do it. And if that's your path, that's your path. But, you know, I'm just trying to do things a little bit different. But based on the information he's shared with me, it's a fantastic book. And this doctor is, like you said, he's not pro or anti. No. He's just putting the information out there.
Yes, he just wants you to be informed before you make the choice. And I think that's important for all things, for all of us all the time, right? Like any medical thing that we're doing, we should be completely informed of all of it. So
completely agree.
Yeah, so that's a good one. And then
evidence-based birth. My OB even recommended that.
Did he? Oh, that's great.
Or the OB actually, or was it the midwife? No, it was an OB. Yeah, it was she. But she recommended it. And I was like, okay.
That's great. So the first 40 days, you mentioned that one.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think. I'm like fully drawing a blank. But yeah, I think so much of it too is just like even just searching good recipes, right? Brenna and I, she has lots of great like nourishing. She has like the good gummy recipes. I think she has like a hot cocoa recipe. She makes marshmallows, like just all of those kind of like more fun foods that are really nourishing. So she's a good resource.
Okay, I'm gonna be bugging you for those recipes, or I can look it up. The Brenna and I. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's quite a handful, and I think a lot of listeners will get so much value from this episode and just hearing from you and the journey that you've gone on and the research. And what would you say the biggest takeaway you hope listeners learn from?
Ooh, let's see. Be your own advocate. You know, do your research. And this is such a good question. What's my biggest takeaway? Yeah, don't be afraid to like take care of your body and your baby in the way that feels most right in your intuition, right? Like there were things that I was doing for my first pregnancy that I think if I tuned into my body, I wouldn't have done. And I think that's important. And knowing that there is like always going to be a healthier alternative. So before you take an answer from your OB or from whoever, do a little research. There might be another option.
And the thing is like, you don't have to give them an answer right away. So for instance, my doctor's like, okay, this is the time that we either do this test or this shot or this, and I'll say, okay, can I come back to you on our next appointment and let you know? And absolutely. And chances are I come back and I'm like, nope, we're good. And they're totally okay with it. And so absolutely be your own advocate. Research. You generally don't have to do stuff in that very moment. And even very normalized shots and whatnot. And again, if that's your path, I know so many people, they're like, give me the drugs, give me the pain reliever, give it to me all. And it's beautiful. And you do what works for you. But just to know that it's okay to opt out.
Yes.
Or it's okay to postpone or delay or research. And if you are getting that resistance from your doctor, that might be another like yellow warning sign to kind of, start questioning things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just, no, that's good.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, spending the time. This was beautiful. And I know I would love to hear more. I'm sure listeners are going to be, okay, we need Brenna back on the show.
This was
so sweet. So valuable. And I just appreciate all your input and everything.
Oh, you're just so sweet. I'm excited for your pregnancy. I'm excited for your labor. I can't wait to hear about it and just see you become a mom because you're going to be so good. And we can chat more childhood stuff when baby comes. Yep. And so fun. Yep. I'm so excited.
And my mom kind of lives in your area, so I'll go out and visit her, and so maybe we'll have to stop in and do like a little co-op and stuff like that. So
come on, join our group.
Yes, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Brenna, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of the weekend with the family, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you so much. You too.
Of course. Bye.
Bye.